Welcome to the Candy Shop Show. Boy, we have a great show for you this evening. This is October 28th, 2015, show number 308 on the Diamond Network. And it's just been a very interesting full moon week. This is a full moon that has a lot to do with emotions, as Cynthia said in our Monday night Diamond Show. So we've got a guest speaker from Canada and a guest speaker from Beverly Hills. I think you're going to enjoy what they're going to share about UFO experiences and recent encounters. So let's see. The Candy Shop Show usually starts with the candy jar segment, and a lot of us around the world, because Cobra had asked us to have a prayer for the Syrians at 1 o'clock Central Time in America last Sunday. And so I and my friends here in Missouri, we joined with Cobra's 12,000 fans around the world, and we've been hearing some good reports that the Russians are doing some good things to try to calm the situation down in Syria, and that some of the Syrians have actually decided to go back home, and so that they might actually feel more comfortable there. But we're looking for things to get better in Europe and there. So the Benjamin Fulford report was pretty amazing, and we hope that you will listen to it from the Elizabeth Diamond Show. I had followed his horrible career from the horrible things that he did in Vietnam and all the drug running, Richard Armitage, and Benjamin Fulford is hoping that even at his elderly age that he gets arrested and things start coming apart for the Khazarians cabal, and that will be an exciting thing. And what we need to do is just to pray, meditate, and live in the moment, and have good energy, and set our intentions that we have good leaders and that they are well intentioned, and it can be so. So remember, one of my resolutions this week is I've tackled the first step, and that would be that people need to meditate every single day. It's nice to meditate at the same time every day, but the important thing is every single day. And then the next step is to lengthen your meditation. And I know some people who are able to meditate an hour at a time, but and even twice a day, 3 times a day, an hour at a time. This is really important to improve the great energies. So don't beat yourself up if you can't do an hour, but just do more than you have been doing, and smile and be happy with yourself that you're doing that and you're offering that kind of positive energy to the universe. Well, we've got a beautiful fall here in the Ozarks, and I'm enjoying my beautiful little granddaughter. She's 4 months old now, and she just smiles so big when she sees me, and she's looking over my shoulders. I think that she's looking at a funny-looking Birdman that she might even remember before she was born. My guide is Raul Tindar, and he loves to make faces at my granddaughter when I go to visit him. So think about communicating with your guides. We often have Christopher Stephen Jacobs here to share your guides' names, and that's great. I think that they appreciate, when we galactalize, as Elizabeth says, with them. Well, that is the conclusion of the Candy Jar segment, and I think that we need to say the law of one and bring in. I'm going to ask Elizabeth to help me with this, and bring in any of our star brothers and sisters that would like to meet with us this evening. Remember, when you're telling people about the Candy Shop Show, we start an hour later than the other Diamond shows do. And so, of course, Elizabeth and I will be having our Thursday show tomorrow night, and it'll start this number at 7:30. So let's... Elizabeth, you want to say the law of one, and especially be thinking about the situation for the Syrians and whatever else you'd like to dedicate it to for good initial contacts individually with our ET brothers.
Okay. Well, we just call in the living flame of divine love. We call in collective consciousness. That's all of us, because we're all one. We call in our brothers and sisters, ETYs, that listen to the Diamonds Network and participate and co-create with us. We call in the spiritual court of equity of all of our ancestors, those listening now and those listening to the recording. We call in our spiritual, mental, physical, emotional bodies and our higher selves. We thank you all for coming. We call in the 360 angels that are assigned to each degree around the earth. Thank you for coming. And we just ask for your help. We ask for you all to initiate us for the highest good of all concerned. Thank you all for coming. We are all one. And when one is harmed or compromised, all are harmed or compromised. When one is helped, all are helped. So therefore, in the name of who I am, and therefore in the name of who we are, and I am one with all that there is, I ask that only the highest good of all concerned happen with what's going on in Mother Earth, with the Syrians and all things that look like they can harm. Let it happen to be the highest good of all concerned. And this show, the Candy Shop Show, let it be the highest good of all concerned. And with our guests and their family, let it be for the highest good of all concerned happen. And so be it, and so it is. Thank you. That this is done. Bless you guys.
Everybody say, this is done. This is done.
This is done.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Elizabeth. Listeners should go to the Diamond blog, Diamonds Forever 31 at blogspot.com to catch our latest videos and the wonderful information that Elizabeth puts up. And there is a button on the right-hand side for contributions to the Diamonds Network. And we are starting a new thing. We are some of us are galactalizing before the radio show starts, and we want to invite those out there in YouTube land that are listening to this on the 28th and November 28th, and whenever you find us on the internet, and let you know that we have been doing over 300 shows. We're always here live, and we would like to invite you to come live. And if you'll join us about 25 after the hour, you might get to hear something special that isn't shared with the YouTube audience. So, folks, come on and come live. Okay. Yanick is our guest speaker. We have heard from Eric Mitchell on the Monday shows and John Polk, and the Japanese radio documentary TV came to America to film people that were having ET experiences and related subjects. Yanick was one that was invited to come down from Canada to be interviewed, and I'd like him to introduce himself more, say whatever you'd like to about your background and why the Japanese were interested in you and what you told them. Yanick,
well, thanks for having me, Candy. It's I know we had the chance to speak a couple of times on the phone, but thank you so much for letting me be on your show.
Sure.
And I'd just like to say hi to everyone down under, because I got a whole bunch of friends in Australia who I do Skype chats with, and I'd like to say hi to Eric Mitchell, who's a friend of mine, and all the people in Maine who are part of Starborn Support, who I had the chance to meet during the Japanese filming. So first of all, the why I was on the show. Roughly maybe a week before the Japanese filming that was held on the 23rd of September this year, Audrey Hewen, or Audrey Starborn, put on her Facebook page, anybody part of the Starborn group wanted to be part of this filming to come up to Portland, Maine. And so I sent Audrey a Skype a Facebook message, and I wanted to talk with her about my story, because I wasn't too sure what's going to happen, because I know the Japanese crew would be there, we'd do some filming, but I didn't really know the details. So I sent her a message, and we Skyped for almost 2 hours, really, just talking about my stuff, and she really she thought it was amazing, and so that gave me confidence, and I drove a good 12 hours directly to get to Portland, and again the filming took about a day. It was awesome. The energies were so high. I was able to connect with other experiencers, and also during part of the Japanese TV show, there was an experiencer, like contactee abductee from Italy, that flew down with the Japanese TV show, and there was a translator also that was there. So it was like an entire 24 hours. I slept at Audrey at Mama Starborn's house. We all camped there. That same place where they had other ET stuff happening during the conference that was held this year. There was this invisible sort of being that actually bent a tree. But I think you got into that during one of your shows. But
Yanick, yes, we did, but we were interested in hearing your story, because we understood that not everybody at the conference saw the Pleiadians, that there was about a dozen who did see the four of them, but different people saw different things. And we would like to hear a little bit more about that part of it and what you saw as far as these... I
wasn't really there, because when a friend of mine who's an experiencer, who was also one of the speakers, I think maybe a year ago, Debbie Tripp, her daughter and I had some sort of, some of the same experiences, and so I really connected with her, and she told me 2 days prior to the conference that she was going down, and not knowing anyone at the time, so I didn't decide to go down to the conference, so that's why I missed it. But as soon as Audrey put on her Facebook page that I'd be going to the same place, then I knew I had to go, so that's why I drove down 12 hours and connected with everyone. But I did sleep at the actual place that one of the events happened there. But I wasn't actually there when it happened. But I was there maybe 2 weeks later.
Since there are some people on this call that didn't hear Eric Mitchell's report, do you want to summarize what you heard secondhand?
Well, it's part. Well, what I know is what they actually talked on the Starborn radio show. I know what I remember is that, just to make a story short, is that around maybe 2 or 3 a.m. There were still people outside camping and talking, and one of the experiencers there heard something in the woods. So I think he went into the woods for a while, because he thought somebody was in the woods, so he actually went into it, and he came back and he didn't see anything. But then they realized that I think they were getting acorns thrown at them, if I recall correctly, and they didn't know where it came from. And then they realized that there was like something in the tree, because there was one tree moving, and it actually bent slowly until it broke. So that was like way weird. And there's other stuff that happened, but I can't really recall. But there's a sort of interaction between like both parties. So yeah, anybody who would want to learn more would just try to go on the. I think there's a recording of the show. They've done at least 2-3 shows. Really, Grant Cameron was on the show at the same time. So yeah, a lot of people were there. They all experienced the same thing. So yeah, I really encourage people to try to go online and try to find the shows, because it's a blast. And this is like the first time that I know that there's actually like interaction between because we at first during the conference we had the blue skinned beings that came, and then during the same night, the same day, you've got these sort of invisible beings that interacted with the people at the lake house. So that's huge. So that's why one of the reasons I decided to drive down and be part of the whole process. Meeting other experiencers in Maine, and that was actually the first time I drove down to the States. So I was a bit nervous, but yeah, it was really a blast, and I'm really glad that I was able to meet everyone.
Wow!
And be part of the TV show.
So many times I started going. I don't know when I was 19. You guys ought to come down and see us. We go up there to see you.
I know.
I've been fortunate to be in Montreal, Toronto, British Columbia. But anyway, so yes, we've had Eric on here, and he talked about how there was like 3 males and 1 woman, and the Pleiadians with their blue skin showed up in blue jeans and flannel shirts, and had a very weird accent, pretended like it was they were from Sweden, and it was obviously not a Swedish accent, and some evidence that they had a spaceship above the building. So, well, when do you think that this documentary from Japan will be? Is that what it is, a documentary, and when will it air?
It wasn't it did air like not too long ago. Then it got taken off YouTube for some reason. I think maybe a copyright thing. I'm not too sure, but it did air. The TV show was like over 2 hours long, and so it was it was a sort of mixed event. They had a whole bunch of other like people on it, but our TV show was like a segment of that entire 2-hour show. But it did get taken offline, so too bad for that.
Wow! Because didn't they?
But it was a pretty cool show. Yeah, it's totally different from what we get normally, in the States.
Well, Yanick, did they get to air it on their regular television before it got put on YouTube, or was it only a YouTube show?
No. It was like a normal TV show that aired in Japan, but somehow somebody got it onto YouTube, and the link got shared, and I was able to view it.
Was there any subtitles in English?
No, not in English. No, everything was. It's a totally different world. The whole thing was even like subtitled in Japanese. And it was pretty cool.
So they dubbed over your voice in Japanese, and so they really couldn't hear what you were saying in English. Yeah,
something like that. So, but
right.
but it was like really focused also on the Italian experiencer that came. So, and also with Audrey and Debbie at the same time. So it was. But it was a really, really cool event, and I'm really grateful for Audrey to letting me come down and be part of it. But I could quickly get into some of my stuff.
Your part of it. Why don't you tell us what you talked about on the show?
Well, I just talked about sort of browsed through really quick, my experience and stuff. I showed them a few photos. Not everything was put onto the TV show because there was so much stuff really. But this year I'll be part of Experiencers Speak 2016, so I'll be in a position to talk more about my stuff, during the conference. So if anybody who wishes to connect really with me, I'll be at the conference throughout the day, so that's going to be great. And but yeah, I'm really sorry that I couldn't get a hold of the. I should have posted it on your site, the actual link to the TV show. But I could get into really quick, as I know you've got another speaker after me, so I might get into some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about at the conference.
Go ahead.
Okay. Let me see. I could start from the beginning. Well, let me say that because every person has their own journey, and I'm not really different from anybody else. I was like full on Cabal. I like to say when I was growing up. My dream was I always wanted to become a millionaire. Like I've got 2 college degrees, both in mining. I was in the diamond industry for a while, diamond and gold exploration industry. So I really thought I was going to be a millionaire by the age of 40, really, and that was my goal. And since the 2007 to the 2008 crash, everything went downhill, and that's where I started waking up and connecting to the dots with everything. So let's say my mother was into angel stuff most of her life, pendulums, crystals. My grandmother used to tell me that a lot of her dreams were about flying, which it sort of makes sense when you put everything together. I was raised in Val-d'Or, Quebec, so they used to have an RCAF base back in the 50s and 60s with nukes. I'm not sure if that's the main reason why there were UFOs here, but it could have been for something else. So I guess everything started off when it was that I remember was around the age of 3 or 4. I used to tell my mom that I'd feel people in my room at night. I was so scared of the darkness that I knew somebody was looking at me that I had to sleep with my belly tucked against the wall, or in a fetal position, and I slept like that right until the age of 11, let's say, give or take. And also, I knew something was in the dark, but I couldn't remember what. I know my mom used to tell me that she'd wake up at night and she'd realize something was watching her until she realized I was right beside her bed watching her sleep. And that would happen a lot. And I was speaking to a MUFON researcher once, and he told me that a lot of child abductees, they used to do that when they come back because, they want to feel safe so they wouldn't see their mother sleep. So that was pretty creepy when I did find that out. And I only found that out maybe 2 years ago. So a lot of creepy stuff. And so I guess when I started primary school, things stopped. You get into this sort of school brainwashing thing, and most of my childhood, all the fear stuff really stopped after that. But I never stopped sleeping against the wall up until the age of 11. So that was kind of creepy. But I remember that when I was 11, I was sleeping, but I knew my legs were in the air. And I cried out no, and my legs fell to the bed. So I was probably either going up or coming back, and they let me fall. So that was pretty. I didn't tell my mom. It took me years to tell her that. So I guess after when I finished my 2 college degrees around 2001, in 2002 I started working at a mining research center. And so I had, the normal Cabal life. I used to work out and stuff. And once I went to bed, so this is the stuff that the year that stuff started to happen again because I wasn't in school anymore, so I wasn't part of the whole brainwashing thing. So I was about to fall asleep, and I was looking at my my closet door, and the air starts to get all hazy in front of me. And I thought, oh, that's weird, because that was sort of new for me. And, the energy was sort of energized, like heat coming off hot pavement. And what I'm starting to see inside was my brother's head tilted a bit. His eyes were closed, and he was drowning. I thought, what the hell is that? Because, this was new to me, really. And I wasn't really awake to the whole ET stuff until later on. But anyways, the next morning I called my mom, and what I found out is my brother, he was taking pills for his IBS, and they were actually killing him, and he was rushed to the hospital, and he got like blood transfusions for the entire week. So I guess that could have been like my higher self telling me, or was it or I guess a sort of clairvoyance that was starting to kick in, because I had other stuff happen after that. In 2004, I remember listening to a lot of EVPs. That was like way before YouTube. And one night, I always know that there's something around me, because sometimes I'd feel like something jumping into me. I'm not sure if your listeners ever had something similar, but once I was listening, I was into a lot of ghost stories. I was listening to EVPs, videos. And one day I come back home, and the power was out in my house, and there was a message on we had sort of external voice boxes that we'd plug into our phones, and there was a message on it, and I thought, oh, that's weird. So I just pressed play, and this sort of demonic voice starts kicking in. For the people who know EVP, sometimes you have to sort of speed up the EVP because it looks like a demonic voice. But I thought it was really like a demon or like a ghost coming through the telephone and speaking to me, because I always felt something around me. And I guess I'm sort of pissed now that I should have saved it somewhere or recorded it. I could have done some form of filtering. But anyways, that was like some part of the ghost stuff that happened to me. Now the ET stuff sort of starts in 2008. I know, so I'm really sort of jumping in, but yeah, because I know I don't want to spend too much of your next speaker's time, but one morning I wake up, and I guess it was around 6 a.m. and I was lying on my back. My girlfriend at the time was sleeping soundly, and maybe max 2 feet in front of my face, there's what I think that really looks like a mantis. Because at first I thought, cause I wasn't really into ETs, because I knew mostly about ghosts, because there's a lot of ghost activity in my family, most star seeds have that type of stuff happening. But that was like a normal mantis face, but it wasn't the normal type of mantis that you see online. It was really like Sandy Nichols' Stickman photo. I recently made the connection, so I had that sort of. The mantis face was sort of see-through. I knew there was something in front of me. I had to really concentrate to see it, because it was sort of transparent, but I could really see the outlines of the face, the big eyes, and the front nasal part. And so that was pretty creepy, because I wasn't expecting to have mantis stuff, because I do have a lot of angels communication, like to and fro. But nothing ET-wise. There's a great thing that happened later on.
Well, Yanick, we have talked about the praying mantis, the entities here on our shows, on the Diamond Network shows, and we've had Ray Kosovich, who's met 34 different kinds of ETs. So our regular listeners are quite used to this, and this seems, amazing to us. And of course, Chris Stevens, Jacobs, our regular bilocator, he has talked about how many people have been abducted, and about the contract with the cabal to allow the abductions, but that things are changing this year, and those contracts are being broken, and I think that people don't have to be afraid anymore about abductions in the future. Have you? And if there's any bilocators and psychics online, we encourage you to tune into what Yanick is saying, and if any of you have any message about what you've said. But have you been interviewed by a bilocator who's been able to give you more details about your abductions?
I'm not sure if I got abducted or I was coming back. Cause this was like, the first time that anything that weird happened to me. Because I did have other stuff before that, but I guess I was sort of used to it. I never really talked about it before because I'd speak about it to my mom, and that's about it. I thought that was normal, so I didn't really talk about it. But I did have regression with Lake Kerr this year. It's online, but I mumbled throughout the entire video because I was really deep under. But we didn't get to that part. But a lot of the angel stuff was sort of, I guess, confirmed, that it actually happened. I know it during the regression. I'd say that when I was a kid, when I'd say people were looking at me in the dark, there was actually like a blue orb that flew by, and there were like shadow beings. And because I had shadow stuff happen later on. I hope I get the chance to speak about it. But there was a lot of.
We should have your guest. Yes, we should have your guest Candy come on Monday's show with Chris, and we'll bring this out more, and that'll help you, sir. So, whatever Candy thinks.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So there was a lot of stuff that got confirmed. We didn't really get into the the mantid part because it was pretty cool. That was my first regression done. So that's with Lake Kerr from Australia. I did the whole thing by Skype, and that was pretty intense. After that, so this might be new to some. Because this is you're the first person I'm talking. You're the first show I'm getting the chance to really to communicate with everyone. So this time, this was in 2008. So that would be in the same apartment that the mantis came. I was sleeping, and this really strong female voice whispers to my ear, and she tells me that I'm going to be an uncle and my parents' grandparents. And, the voice was so strong, and I know it was female because, the voice was right beside my ear. So the voice was so strong that it woke me up. I thought somebody was in the room. I thought there was a burglar somehow. So I get up, the light switch was right above my head, so I switch it on, and no one's in the room. I look at my girlfriend, she's still sleeping. So I thought that was weird. I fall back asleep. I call my mom the next morning, and I tell her. 2 months later, my brother calls up, and he says, Yanick, do you feel old today? And I thought, wow, that's a weird question. And I say no. And he says, well, you're going to be an uncle. I thought, wow, that's cool, because my brother, he and his wife were trying to have kids for like 10 years, and in vitro wasn't working, hormones wasn't working, the whole enchilada. And out of the blue, I get a female voice telling me that he's going to be with his wife's going to be with a child, and that it takes about 2 months when the soul. It takes 2 months for the soul to come in. So by the time that she had like a positive response, it's about 2 months. So 2 months later, I get the call. I'm going to be an uncle.
So you got the message maybe the very night of the conception. That's
right. The soul came in, and she had to tell me. So I'm not sure if it was the soul or my higher self or whatever angel beings I'm working with. But, it was pretty cool that I had confirmation after that.
Wow. Well, that is great.
Yeah.
And there are instances where people have been known to get a positive birth control, baby results test, within 72 hours sometimes, because I think that the soul can come in even faster than 2 months, but 2 months is probably a common thing. Well, this is just great. Yeah. And so, Elizabeth, do you think you have time for Yanick to come on your show this coming Monday, or a different Monday?
Okay, November 2nd we have a guest. Is that next Monday?
Yes, it is.
Okay, the next Monday after that, Yanick could come on.
Would you be available on a Monday? Okay, November 9th. Okay. Well, folks who've heard, this will be up on YouTube before then, and just remember, November 9th, we're going to have Yanick from Quebec on the Elizabeth Diamond Show, and we'll have Christopher Jacobs as the bilocator to give us a little bit more of the story for Yanick and for all of us to understand how these things are happening in this amazing universe that we live in. Well, wow. Is there any a little bit that you'd like to conclude with, Yanick? And we'll open up to questions too. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, there's so much. Like I can go on for maybe like an hour's time, really, because I had a black hole floating in my doorway. The normal like supernatural stuff happening in the house. I'm not really sure where to start. Because I know that your show's an hour long, roughly, and you do have somebody else after me, so I'm not sure where I should start. Do I continue, or do I let the other speaker on?
Well, I just wondered, is there anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment or question to Yanick? Does anybody like to speak up?
I have one comment for him.
Okay.
This is Christine. I am also an abductee, and I haven't really talked about it yet. But all I can tell you is watch a lot of videos on YouTube, because once you hear other people's experiences, then those things that you kept saying, what was that? It kind of makes it make a lot more sense. And then you start finding out things like scan your life to see if there's any missing time, things like that. But listening to other people on YouTube will help.
Yeah, well, that's why I connected with the people in Maine, because me and Eric Mitchell, we had the same, I think, blue orb type of event, and other like UFO, because I've had UFOs over my house. I didn't talk about that, but I was supposed to marry another contactee, but she was like an abductee as well, and a lot of stuff also happened during that time. A lot of energy stuff that, I'd wake up and my whole body was shaking and we had to get up. Also, we had the black hole. I'd wake up at night and there was a black hole in my doorway. Imagine that. Because my face was right beside the doorway. I wake up and there's this sort of black disc hovering. And my girlfriend at the time, fiancée, well, she woke up and she heard EMP. Either we were being attacked by a magnetic pulse, or there was something like an energy thing that was happening. We fall back asleep, and I wake up sort of half drowsy, I guess, and there were like humanoid shadows walking around my room. Not the type of black entity we see on the net, but it looked like a really big like astronaut type of uniform, and I could see through it, and it was moving right beside my bed. So, there's, because, every contactee, abductee, they do have that sort of, I guess, the same stuff that happened to them, similar experiences, but sometimes, what I'll talk about, I guess, on Elizabeth's show is, it's totally different what we get normally, but, because some of the stuff that I'll be talking here, I'll be talking at the Experiencer Speak next year. But it just goes. I want to show to people that there is some sort of force behind what's happening, and it's as if we're all connected, and that everyone has a plan, and that's what I want to put an emphasis on next year, because I've had beings that would speak to me, and at first I think it's just a dream, and what they told me would actually happen. So it's so the whole point of me, I guess, speaking on Candy's show tonight is like to connect with everyone and to make new friends, and whatever story that I learn from their cases adds to my own, and sometimes I could maybe connect the dots and found out that this type of thing happened, and so on. So thanks for your question.
Well, that is just great, Chris. Yanick, and the Candy Shop Show is happy that you chose us to start journey into revealing your experiences and helping others in the process. So this is just great, and it's very interesting. I mean, I have a portal in my upstairs closet, and used to be a lot of negative entities would come through, but we've closed it off to the negative and just allowing the good ETs to come through at times. Is there, before we go to Christine's story, and Yanick, we hope that you can stay on. We know it's very late there, and you've been exhausted. How long a drive was it from your home to Maine?
A good 12 hours. The first time I sort of did it in two phases because I wasn't too sure how long I'll be at the customs, and so I stayed at the customs. So I did take a hotel just prior to leaving Canada. So I stayed maybe 2 hours at customs, and but when I came back, it was like a sort of one-way trip. It took 12 hours really. So yeah, it was a big trip.
I'm sorry, customs is so difficult to nowadays. When it used to be, you just 5 minutes was all when I went through the first time. Okay, was there anybody else that wanted to make an observation or a question to Yanick? Well, thank you so much for sharing, and maybe you'd like to stay on and dialogue a little bit with Christine. But
sure, I'll stay on.
Okay, and Christine is out in Beverly Hills. She's had a lot of experiences, and I suggested that she go, after I heard about Yanick and Eric's UFO conference meeting, I suggested she go to the one in Sacramento. And Christine, did you get to go to the conference last weekend?
I did. And we went from 8 in the morning to 11 at night on Saturday, and 8 in the morning to 8:30 on Sunday. I wasn't going to go, but you mentioned it to me, and I'd never been to a UFO conference. It's something, I guess I stayed away because I didn't want to rock the boat too much, but for some reason I just wanted to go to this one. And it was very fascinating just talking with everyone. It's like, oh, so what ETs have you seen, and which ones have you seen? And it was just like talking over coffee like normal. I think that was the best thing about it, that it made it very normal, to be
finally,
an experiencer. Right?
Right. Yes.
And one of the things mentioned is there's experiencer.org by Eric Mitchell. So anyone who is an experiencer, they have a survey. So I think it's going to close soon, but it's a very interesting survey. It actually kind of helps wakes you up, right? And there was one question on there, which I won't say what the question was, but did it give me goosebumps? It's like, wow, other people have been to this place, that it's a question on the survey. So that was kind of cool. Another silly thing that...
Well, Christine, I want to repeat that, and folks might want to take a few notes during the Candy Shop shows. So that was ericmitchell.org. No, Eric Mitchell started it, and it's experiencer.org. Oh, experiencers.org. Excuse me. Yes, experiencers.org.
No S.
Oh, experiencer.org.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And I meant to ask Yanick, did you want to give out any contact information, or did you just want them to contact me, or would you like more Facebook friends? What do you say, Yanick?
Well, they can contact me through Facebook. That would be fine. Yeah, that's awesome.
So, do you want to give your email or your name, how it's spelled on Facebook?
Oh, that's Yanick. That's for Yanick, and Aumond, that's French. So that would be AUMOND. And I think they can also get through me through your your Facebook page also, if I recall.
Right, because you're a friend on my Facebook, and
That's right.
Of course that would be Candy Carroll in Missouri for my Facebook page. That's CARROLL Carroll. Okay, well then it sounds like, Christine, that you're glad you went.
It was a good time. One other website that came up that was cute, we had a Skype talk with George Norrie, and he started a dating site, which is called paranormaldate.com. So for any of the single listeners, that just might be another avenue to connect up with someone who is aware of what's going on in the world.
Okay. Well, I know there's conscious singles and green singles, and now we've got paranormal.com. Or paranormal singles, is that what it's called?
Paranormal Date, DATE.com.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So there was only two speakers that I really didn't like, and one of them, it wasn't really her fault because it was a little too light for the group, and the group is well informed, so we were a little bit bored. It would be more of a thing if you went down to the women's club or the Boy Scout troop, you know, and you want to gently start talking to people. We weren't ready for that. And then there was another one. She was definitely alien, and I didn't connect with her presentation, but she was definitely alien. Her name was Juliana Okah, Okah, and she was bizarre. She was definitely bizarre. But it was interesting seeing that. Now, three of the speakers, and I don't have special abilities, but three of the speakers had full body auras, which is quite amazing to me because I usually just see like an aura on the head, but three of them had auras. Now, this guy, Gordon Asher Davidson, he talks about the utopia coming on planet Earth, and he has a book called Transfiguration of Our World. He was just extraordinary, uplifting, dynamic, and we all gave him, you know, a standing ovation when he got done talking. We didn't want him to stop talking. And he just made it sound so normal, the ETs, working with the government, you know, taking people out, replacing them. He said 85% of the military is now under the light forces. So
wow.
He was,
we talked about that on the Diamond Network, but we hadn't heard that percentage. That's wonderful.
Yeah, so he was pretty incredible. And then I was going to a party Saturday night, and I'm talking to this one lady, and she goes, "Oh, so what ETs have you seen?" And I didn't know who she was. I didn't know she was a speaker. But she was definitely alien. And I found out the next day, I actually have seen her on a show, William Shatner's show. And he made her look kind of bad, but she is really, really amazing. And as Candy saw today, I posted some of her sculptures. And what the sculptures are for is to get you connected, right? Like I always say, how come I don't have any pretty ETs contacting me? You know, but apparently that's my job. But she had the sculptures up on the stage, and this one sculpture kept staring at me and said I had to take him home. And these beings, the Zetas, are all about love. And it's like, yeah, I don't care. I really don't need any love. I'm fine with how I'm doing it. You know, but it got very emotional, and it's like, okay, fine, I'll bring you home, you know. And actually the first night I was home, I swear I saw Zeta on the fringe of my, I call it like my third eye, inner eye. And most of the other beings, when I see them, either they're just there with me or some kind of communication by like pictures and stuff. But this one was, you could barely see it. And once it spotted, I saw it, it backed out. You know, so I thought that was a fascinating experience. And then,
Yes, and so are you joking, or do you actually think that this person was a Zeta Reculean or some kind of alien?
It's not a reptilian. My son thought it looked like gray, but it's not a gray. But it's the big head. It's white. It's tall, and their specialty is love. It really is. So it was fascinating that the first day home, that I actually saw something so faint, you know, and it's not like my other things I see that's, you know, just stays there. So I think they're testing me to see if I'm ready for contact, which I'm not. My heart still races too fast. I have to meditate or something to be ready for this. The other thing, there's only,
Well, that's very honest. We're all on the Diamond Network trying to get ourselves ready for, you know, and Monday Night Show was about the Mothman and learning that there really is a race of Mothmen that are very loving and kind, but still it can be a little disconcerting, I do believe, to actually, you know, walk into a room with a Mothman standing there.
My biggest contact is reptilians of all different kinds. And one of the things all the experiencers were saying at the conference is what we thought were bad ETs, scary ETs, is just because we're not able to handle it and we get scared and don't understand. But some of them have actually changed over the years, changed sides, understands humans a bit more, and some of them never meant to scare or be the boogeyman, although some of them are pretty nasty, you know, so that's why we have to be more grounded and know ourselves better so we can pick up on the energies and know if it's negative or positive. But if you send light and love, it takes care of, you know, most of the beings. The one other person I talked to that I thought was fascinating, I had only told one person who's famous, you know, in the lines, and I won't say his name, but I had an interview with him, and it went along really well, and he said we actually know each other from way back when. But I shared him some of my stories, and then I didn't hear from him again. So that introverts you. But when I went to the mixer that night, Janet Lesson was there, and her husband is Shasha, and so I was able, it just came out, right? So I was able to tell her my basic story, and there was one other lady there. I didn't know who she was, but she was very sweet. But Janet gave me a hug, you know, because she definitely understands what, you know, we go through, and that was just kind of nice. It's like, you just get to have a girl chat and talk about, you know, all your stuff, your abductions, the cults, the MyLabs, the helicopters, you know, and it's like, oh, yeah. So by the time I was done with the weekend, it's like, I don't know, there's several of us, right? And like Janet, she had told about 2 different experiences that she had, and I had those experiences as well. Mine was a little bit different. Like hers was in a cave, a big cave. Mine was in a big domed glass house, but with the same people I call the wise ones. And then the other council as well. And ours was a little bit different, you know, but it was, the essence was like 95%, you know. It was just how they present themselves to you. So that was just kind of good because I have other stuff floating in my head, which I didn't think it was me. I thought it was always my son, and that was only every 2 or 3 years. But once I don't know, I hit something a couple years ago or a year ago, and I've been on YouTube ever since. So the last thing I want to share with you is I obviously consider myself an experiencer or an abductee, you know, but how do you prove it? And I have a couple things that I can prove, and I have a couple photos that I can prove. I have a baby rat footprint on my couch. I have the orange ships. But when there's a thing called the afterglow of a UFO abduction experience, and basically what that is there's something that they do when they touch your skin that it seeps in, but it's not visible on our spectrum. So what you can do is you can use a black light and observe the portions on your skin, which comes out is like a bluish white. And this guy wanted $50 to check you for implants and check it, and it's like, I didn't feel like spending $50 for it. And then he said something interesting. He said, well, you have to have been abducted within the last 30 days. And I go, well, I have 2 experiences in the last 30 days, minimal, and they were major ones, right, with the bruises on your leg and something that happened to my nose, either implant or waterboarding. So I and there's one other person that's famous that kind of says, oh, you have a story to tell, and it's like, well, maybe I'll start telling you, but I'm not going to put it out there yet. But I thought, wouldn't it be good to know, you know, at least is it on my skin under black light? So I paid the $50. He asked me some silly questions like missing time. I don't necessarily have missing time. I have objects moved and things changed, but, you know, each person experiences it differently. So we go into this tent that makes it all black and dark, so he can turn on the black light. So he says, okay, put out your arms. So I put out my arms. He turned on the black light, and there was nothing. And it's like, I don't know if that's a relief or is that good. And he goes, oh, we're just getting started. And he goes, okay, now turn over your hands. So I turned over my hands, and my arms were half covered with this blue stuff that showed up with the fluorescent light. And then he did my face, and the lady goes, do you have powder on? And I go, well, face powder. And it's like, I haven't even seen that picture yet. I actually have pictures on a CD that they gave me. So then it's like, well, let's look at the legs, right? So I pulled up my pants legs. It was so covered. And she goes, do you have powder on your legs? And I go, no. So the powder didn't have anything to do with it. These guys seemed a little amateurish, but they definitely had something with their little tent and the black light. So my legs were totally, totally covered. So at least it gives me confirmation that there is something going on, you know. So that's my story.
Wow. Wow. Oh. Well,
so I feel really good that I went to it, because otherwise now, like with this one famous person starting to contact me, at least I have the photos of these, you know, this blue on my skin. So there's definitely something going on. And I would have known that. I would have been in my mind, it's like, why do I keep thinking all these odd thoughts, right? Well, obviously there's something going on, and I will at least write it down for myself so I don't forget it.
Sure. Now, Christine, hasn't Chris Jacobs already done a reading with you?
Yes, I have always, because of the call I was in, I attracted a lot of entities. So basically what he did with me, and when you're talking to someone else who's psychic, you become more psychic too. So I knew a lot of it, and we just cleaned it up really good. And then I talked to one other person, and we had a curse removed, so that was good. But we didn't talk about this. I mean, it's not something I think about as often. I mean, it didn't even cross my mind when I was talking to Chris.
Wow. Well, Chris often now his scans are $80 often does tell people how often they were abducted and how long ago they were, and he helps remove at a distance the implants that the negative implants that any aliens might have put in people. And I think and certainly when he removed 4 of my implants, I had shoulder pain that immediately went away and didn't come back, and so he said for me, like, my abductions were a long time ago, but then other people have been abducted within this last year.
Yeah.
So,
I kind of want to. I'm hoping the veil is going to come up. So what I'm doing is I like to watch some of the really rough videos, like the My Love videos, just so when the veil is lifted, no more mind control, no more amnesia, we'll know everything. I can ground myself and accept it, and I can help other people, so they don't go insane once we're no longer dumbed down. At least that's where I am right now.
Right. I mean, we're all looking forward to the golden age when we can mingle with our good ET brothers and sisters, and we can help those who aren't on the front lines, like the fans of the Diamond Network, in getting ready. Now that is so exciting. It sounds like some of our positive shows we have with Elizabeth. What was the name of the speaker who talked about the golden age to come?
His name is Gordon Asher Davidson.
Gordon Asher Davidson.
Yep. Incredible
well,
guy.
That's good. The first 200 shows here on this channel emphasize reports from the Owaspy channeling of the 1800s and prophesized about the golden age that we were entering and the wonderful things that would be happening. And
one of the things he talked about is housing. They're not going to have to demolish it. The ships, as you know, is like kind of living material and consciousness, and the new housing is going to be like the same material. So when you go into it, what's good for your essence is going to adjust to you, which sounds exciting.
Yes, it does. It does. And it's going to be all healing of diseases and emotions, and we all need to be working on forgiveness now to be getting our emotions better in tune. So it is going to be a really exciting time. Well, let's open it up to the audience if they would like to make a comment or a question of Christine or Yanick, who's probably still here.
Christine,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken the time to draw down whatever you saw, concerning the beings or the Zeti that you were talking about?
I have no drawing skills. No, I haven't. But I tell you, I have seen so many different ones, like the reptilians to me. The longer the noses get, the meaner and stupider they are.
Wow.
It's just a general thing that I have seen. The shorter the nose, the more intelligent, the more understanding that you can reason with them. Some people, like the military, you can't reason with them. They're just, conditioned. So that you just have to relax.
Have you seen them with your third eye or physically? Was it a sort of projection?
The reptilians I seen with my third eye. I also had the closet portal light, and I heard a troop coming in one time that I said no. And I have a photo of a footprint on my couch from a reptilian. So that's my basic understanding. And also,
and do you know why they visit you?
Yes, I do. Basically, I was sent here to be a representative for the human race, so that it could be more understood what it is to be a human. So when I go to the councils, I kind of sit there like a valley girl saying, "Hi, you guys. How are you? Here I am." And then the take on it is, can't we just get over this and all have a beautiful picnic, together? And I put out a picture of a picnic, But that's my basic job.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, that's great. Christopher reminded me that I am a part of the Silver Flame of Alonius. Which is your original planet?
Me?
Yes.
I was told I am Anunnaki and I'm from Lara, which there's so many images in my eye. I do, how we get sad about Atlantis? I do get sad about the giants being misunderstood. I have seen some beautiful people, the white wise ones that just look normal like us, but tall. But I don't know exactly in my mind how I fit in with that, but it is something that I'll find out someday.
Right. Do others have a comment or question from the audience?
So I want to know about the two that you didn't like. You said that one lady she was just bizarre. What bizarre things did you see? Or what, her expressions and stuff? Just curious. No judgment.
She was from Japan. Her face was really flat and white, yet her nose seemed to be really dark, almost like her nose was missing. And then when she talked, she might say a sentence or two, and she goes, and then when I met the avians, if that's what it was, then she would play her violin to represent that moment. But the frequency was not where we were in the audience. So it might have been a higher frequency, but she kept on doing this. And as a child, she was told to learn to play the violin and to paint. Her paintings are great. They communicate. But it was almost like going to a violin show, and we wanted information. So she didn't talk too much, but she's just starting to talk and find her own. But her face is definitely odd. There's something going on there.
Wow, you guys probably got more from her playing the violin than you would have from her talking. Yeah. Cool. You sound like a friend I know I haven't talked to in a while on Skype, Bretzel. Christine, she's a Christine, her name Bretzel on Skype. Or you sound like my friend Christine, she's a nurse somewhere. I haven't talked to her. Anyway, thank you for you and Yanick, and great. Thanks.
And one more thing I want to say. From the weekend, the biggest thing we all agreed on is there's a lot of people having experiences and they have no one to talk to. The more we openly find a way to talk to people and to be someone they can talk to, the better it is for these lonely souls out there.
Absolutely, and that's why Elizabeth and I have our shows, so people can connect and not feel like they're the only ones. And so this is good. About how many attended the conference, Christine, in Sacramento?
100, I would guess.
Okay.
And the other one that you didn't like, what describe that? Why didn't you? I was just curious about that. No, did.
She's a famous hypnotherapist, and she was just talking about how she was she had a general practice, and then she started to get into this area, and then she regressed someone, and they said, oh, I see a light, I see a ship, and she took about a half an hour to say that. It was just very slow, very general. She is getting older on her years, but she now specializes in this area. But it was just too slow, way too slow. And I saw Tolik.
Oh, you saw Tolik, yeah? And what another story that guy that was phenomenal speaker, if you can think of any more of that, and Tolik, yeah.
I don't know what to make out of Tolik. I don't get it. It's not my thing. But he was there. He more talks about himself, I'm Tolik from Dakota. It's like, okay. I'm Christine from Lara, so what? Okay.
That's funny.
Right? But if you can get the book Transfiguration of Our World by Gordon Asher Davidson, he's getting direct downloads, and I think he does weekly updates on Facebook, the internet. They might cost a little bit of money, but I'm definitely going to plug into his monthly webinars and stay up to date.
Okay. Wow, and Christine, you should come and give us a report when you hear his monthly seminars. Get a hold of Candy, and you can come on the Monday show or Candy show and give us an update of that. That would be cool to do.
I'll take notes then. Yeah.
Well, this has just been great. Well, we really appreciate you and Yanick sharing tonight. Elizabeth and I will be hosting another interesting show tomorrow night, Thursday. For those who'd like to come back, everybody's welcome. We do this every week. And thank you so much, you folks. And I think tonight I'll just say that the Candy Shop Show is a wrap. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
It's a wrap.